Give him the flock of rent, man. It's on the way, May 31st, man. Dropping on my birthday. That's my birthday gift to myself.
Catch up. Yeah, everybody know I got a sack, man. I got the whole hood shot.
Shout out to Krispy Kreme. They gave me 2 big Krispy Kreme dozens. One with the regular kind of Krispy Kreme, the glazed, hot glazed, and then one with all the specialty donuts. If you go on my Instagram, you can see that. Yeah, these ones, they gave me these ones, and on YouTube, I think I got a video. They gave me these ones, and they gave me a dozen of the specialty ones, man. They were so good. And they gave me 2 drinks, Krispy Kreme drinks, a strawberry and a chocolate. They were something else. Me and my auntie had them. They were more than delicious. It made our day. We go to the one out in Mississauga. And speaking of the one in Mississauga, I was there for the grand opening of this one in Mississauga. When they first opened it, grand opening of it, it had to be in the early 2000s. And I remember when they did their grand opening, my father brought me there. It was a big thing for my father. My father lived in Canada at that time. And he said, Tommy, there's Krispy Kreme and it's opening. And I didn't even know what it was. But he brought me there. Same one here in Mississauga. We went all the way out to Toronto. We were from the Hillsburg area at the time. And we drove all the way out. And there was a lineup, a gigantic. If I can find a picture of the front here, here's the front door. The lineup went out here and it went all the way that way. And there still is lineups, but this was the great lineup. I'm telling you, this was when they first opened up. There were a lineup of people going this way. There was cars everywhere, whatever. There was tents out, and they were giving out. While you waited in line, there was a woman or a man or whatever, but this specific time it was a woman that came around, and she gave everybody, if they wanted one, a free hot donut when you were waiting in line. And they maybe even do that sometimes still. But man, I have never tried a donut better. Same with I don't know. Oh, sometimes I buy their uh, Krispy Kreme Keurig uh, coffees, and those are pretty good too. I know my mom's bought them a couple times, and they're fairly good. And I went to Costco and one time, and I talked my auntie into buying the these ones here. 6.99. You get I believe a dozen. They're not hot like if you go to the official Krispy Kreme, but they are the original glazed donuts, and they're a lot better than many other donuts in that same, like at the grocery store. They maintain that same melt in your mouth um, experience, and their specialty donuts are very good too. They have a lot of chocolate and different fillings and things like that, as well as like nuts and sprinkles. And there's just so many different kinds of donuts. They have far more donuts than any other donut manufacturer. That's Krispy Kreme donuts. And they have a deal with Costco, like I said, that I got to try because my auntie has been a holder of a Costco membership for quite a large amount of years. She is the executive member, and I've tried to tell her to downgrade from the executive to like maybe like I guess that's all of them are around the same price, but she pays for that executive one. Or no, sorry, I don't think she pays for the executive. Actually, I think she is, or something of that nature. It's like the highest up card that you can get. This might be the American one, Costco membership Canada. Yeah, I believe she is a Gold Star executive member, and that's quite pricey. But I got to take advantage of that when I was with my auntie because their membership states that you're allowed to bring a friend or family member along with you as long as you are a member holder. So I went along with her quite frequently, and helped her with her groceries. And we had the hot dogs, and I learned about the Costco hot dogs, and we saved a lot of money on them. Going and sorry, we didn't save a lot of money, but we used to go and after getting our groceries, we'd have a hot dog. But I believe anybody, even if you do not have a membership, you can go in and you can have you can, it's at the front of the stores. You can eat uh, at their, you can pay and eat at their food concession area. And first it started, luckily she was a member holder or whatever, but there's two different perspectives to it. There's no other place that you can get for $1.50 a foot long hot dog, pretty much. With they have all types of toppings, and you can even ask for onions and sauerkraut. And it also includes a fountain beverage that I don't think they mind if you do a refill. There's no other place you can find $1.50 hot dog. Now, me and Auntie Carolyn, we went and we had that hot dog, and we had it again and again and again. So much I said, Carolyn, while we were in the store shopping, I said, why don't you pick up a whole package of those beef hot dogs so we can have them at home? And she did. And we were eating Costco hot dogs for days. And they taste just like you get them at the concession. And because you get addicted to those. And so we did that and we had the beef hot dogs. The pizza looks really good too. I don't think I tried the pizza, but I've seen a lot of people get the pizza. And I've seen a lot of people get the chicken and the fries, and I believe even they have sandwiches sometimes, or they do, yes. And the ice cream. I've had the ice cream, and it's also a fair price. Now, it's not the fair. Now, Costco doesn't have the most fairest price on ice cream, but it is a fair price. It's cheaper, a dollar something. You can get a nice sundae or something. Close to $2 for the sundae. I think a dollar for the ice cream or something of that matter. The cheapest place that I've ever seen ice cream at, and uh, where you can score some ice cream for very cheap, is KFC. Especially up north. I don't know if they have it down south, but I know for sure they have it in Canada. At some locations, they have 50-cent ice cream cones. Even cheaper than McDonald's, because McDonald's has the $1 ice cream. But the cheapest ice cream that I've ever seen thus far, and still probably is the Colonel himself over at KFC. Me and my auntie went over there. Unfortunately, I was so tired that day and just needed refueling. I had a big bucket of chicken for me and my auntie, and we hadn't had a dinner like that in years. I had the whole meal, the bucket of chicken, the mashed potatoes and gravy. We had biscuits, we had slaw, we had everything. Fries, even, I think. I went all out. I was like, this is I went all out with my auntie. She's told people how all out I went with her. It was a big thing. I hadn't seen my auntie. I got bamboozled. It was a big thing when I seen her. I hadn't seen her in years. I just came back to Canada maybe in 2010, and I hadn't seen her in a while since I was a little bit younger before I had gotten back, before I went to schooling down there. So I took her out to the movie theaters, Cineplex, and I also took her for that big chicken dinner. And I took her to two separate movies, uh, something about money or whatever, and the Cher movie musical. I took her to the Cineplex, both Cineplexes. And I was planning on taking some other people to the Cineplexes, but unfortunately, there was a lot of jealousy and a lot of impatience. And I took my auntie to two shows, and I took that Project DA to a show or two. Or I took him to a show. And then I was planning on taking this other woman or whatever, but unfortunately she didn't want to go. And then there was another girl I wanted to take to, but she didn't want to go either. And I also went to what is it called? That Brunswick bowling. And I'll go again in the future. I have the money to. Uh, Fortunately, with my brand and how hard I work, I know I will be back to Brunswick one day. And when I went to Brunswick, I didn't really know about it, but Project DA was like, I was like, man, what's there to do in Brampton? I got all this money. What's there to do? You know, I had met this guy named Project DA, Christopher Grimbley. You might be able to search him up. He's got Insta. And I called him up or whatever. We met at the Salvation Army because I went to the Salvation Army. Me and my auntie had gotten into a fight. And I went into the Salvation Army, and Project DA, was the first person I met at the Salvation Army. Uh, he came up to me, and let me see if I can find a good picture of him here. I'm all over his Instagram because I was the one that talked him into starting an Instagram and stuff. And Project DA came up to me, and he's like, "Hey man, aren't you StacksAMilli's?" I said, "What? You know me?" Because I didn't even know he knew me. He said, "Yeah, I know you and all that." He said, "Let me uh, introduce you to everybody and kind of uh, uh, get you feeling comfortable." And it was he showed a lot of hospitality in Brampton. Anyways, we made it to the point where I was calling him on the phone and talking to him and stuff. And I was like, "Hey, DA, like, what do you want to do today?" And he was like, "Let's go over to Brunswick." And I said, "Oh, what's Brunswick?" He said, "It's a bowling alley." I said, "Okay." We already did the movie theaters. We did uh what's that Italian place, Mario's. We did Mario's. We had so much fun. We did a lot of different places together. I was taking DA all over. We did Heritage Fish and Chips. We did Mario's. We did Cineplex and all that. We did Salvation Army. And I learned a lot. But then there was a time I got sick or whatever at the Salvation Army or whatever, and Project DA really took care of me when I was sick. He used to bring me all the juice and all that. But one day when I got back on my feet or whatever, because I had recently got out of jail or whatever, so I was just getting back on my feet or whatever out here. I had to pay a lawyer, which I shouldn't even really pay the guy after the way he's been treating me ever since. But I had to pay a lawyer I had to pay him $2,000 cash. And I could have left the Salvation Army right away, but I was like, you know what? I like these people. They're family. And that's when me and DA really connected, and we started doing videos and whatnot. And then his mom got involved and started investing into DA and all that. But he's kind of at a standstill with that. But back to Brunswick. What is it called? Oh, here's a video where I took DA out to the hospital, Brampton Civic, and I paid for his lunch. I bought him lunch out over at the Brampton Civic. Here's when I took DA out to Mario's. I paid for the Uber to Mario's. I also paid for all the food. Same with the Cineplex and the hospital food here. I covered that myself here. Anyways, here's when I took everyone out to Brunswick. He was like, it can't just be us or whatever. So I was like, okay, we'll bring this guy along. And this is another man that I met at the Salvation Army. I think they call him, I can't remember what they call him. And because I was really motivated to start doing videos and all that, I wanted to make it a big investment while I was out in the Toronto area. They used to make fun of me and they used to have all these rumors like I was this hillbilly guy or whatever that would never come out to Toronto. They would never see me in Toronto. He would never come to Toronto. You would never, all that. So I came to Toronto and I just made it rain with the money. And I picked up this guy here, Christopher, and he was my security for my stay in Toronto, as well as a photographer and video guy. And as well as he became his own celebrity. Here's the meal we ate at the hospital. I was like, DA, I know about this hospital food. Let's go over here. And he's like, what? They got food at the hospital like that? Over in the food court? And I was like, yeah. I was like, so let's head over there because my mom, she's a registered nurse or used to be. So I know all about hospital food because my mom used to drop me off at I used to be at the hospital a lot and all that. And my mom also used to drop me off at the hospital or whatever. And I used to use her Lee Memorial family discounts or whatever. So I used to get a big discount on hospital food. And my grandfather was always in and out of the hospital, same with my grandmother or whatever. So I had tried hospital food a lot through that too. So I knew all about hospital food. Anyways, I was like, yeah, let's head over to the hospital, try it. And that's when we had I'm sure he's been ever since. We had the chicken with the French fries and the peas and that. Here's a good photo that I edited after. I made it a lot better with post-production. I was having a Caesar at the Mario's. Brunswick, here's that shelter food. It's not as good or whatever. I never took any pictures of the shelter food until I went to a London shelter, and then I did some London shelter food because DA was like the king of that shelter food. I was like, why? You're actually showing that shelter food? And then he gave me the idea. I was like, okay, screw it. Because I'm at the shelter anyway. I'm not going to lie. So I took some shelter food photos too.
My boy DA, I'm just hanging out with my boy DA, showing him some love. You know what we're doing? We're making real moves, nigga. Look at this. Look at this one, guys. Woo! Yo. Woo! If you need any cigarettes, hit me up too, dog.
At the time, I had a lot of cigarettes. I was hustling cigarettes. They all do. They have all types of cigarettes or whatever out there, the native smokes. And what is it called? What is it called? They had all the native cigarettes out there. They're all smoking cigarettes or whatnot. So I got introduced to the cigarettes and all that in London. So I had been introduced to those cigarettes actually way before then, how they all smoke those bag cigarettes and all that. And what is it called? Here's another video where I was in this shelter.
Be honored to settle. No, I'm not suspicious.
Don't worry.
And he's spraying.
You're not going to be there.
And if he is, I'm going to cut this supplier off right away.
What are you going to do, Stacks?
Like, because if he's spraying it with some shit, because sometimes you deal with some guys that might spray it with some shit. And if he's spraying it with some shit, I'll cut him off. But I'm smoking the same shit.
This is how we do it down the shelter, man. Yo, cuz, what up? Yo, cuz.
I heard that? He's not recording.
Yo, what do you have, Stacks?
Good.
Yo, we got
StacksAMilli's, we're out here in the motherfucking bathroom, nigga. Oh, real GD, nigga. Come see me, nigga. Don't be on that fucking FaceTime shit saying you're gonna slice me up and shit like some of you niggas, nigga. Come
Yo,
see
yo,
me, nigga. I'm
pull
ready to
up,
go,
pull up,
nigga.
pull up the
I don't
mace,
got nothing
man.
to
Pull up the mace, man. Pull
I
up
don't
the
got
mace.
nothing to pull out, nigga. Be 100%.
And what is it called? I stuck around the shelter for a while. I was like, why not grab some footage? Here's the food I bought at Brunswick for DA and myself and that other guy. I can't remember. I showed him on that Facebook video, but they cut it out on that one. But that's the food. It's like their big platter, and I bought the cheese fries too. Man, I should have just bought it for myself, but I thought, why not at the time? But maybe I'll be back in the future with just me, or maybe just maybe a woman or something, or my direct family. I want to try that appetizer platter again. Because, man, the boys were hungry that day and they really scarfed it. Here's that other guy. You might have seen him in that E-Day diss. He was there when I was just joking around with E-Day or whatever because, what is it called? Me and E-Day have history because General Beans, I used to work with General Beans. So I was just joking around with E-Day. E-Day never really even disrespected me on Twitter or nothing like that. I think I sent a DM to E-Day. He never responded. So I was like, fuck it. I'm going to say this on camera or whatever. And then that's how that E-Day thing popped off. Because General Beans or whatever was fucking with E-Day. But General Beans at the time was in prison. General Beans was just getting out of prison at the time. So I was like, fuck it. I'm going to keep it alive or whatever. I'm going to say like... blah, 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 E-Day or whatever. And that is on my channel. Let me see here. Here's a surprise wake up I did of Chris. I woke him up in the shelter. That one did a little numbers. There was a couple shelter ones that did heavy numbers. Here it is here. Shout out to E-Day. You want to disrespect me on Twitter, nigga? I guarantee you come to Canada, you'll fucking get lost, nigga. It ain't Chicago, nigga. This is Toronto, nigga. And guess what, nigga? I run this place, nigga. You don't run this place, E-Day, so fuck you too, and fuck you, Chief Keef, bitch. Twitter, StacksAMilli's. And I think at the time, General Beans didn't understand it or whatever. And that's when E-Day had, they shot at me on Steele's Ave or whatever one day or whatever. But then at a later time or whatever, I was inside my Airbnb or whatever, and they tried to kick my door or whatever. And I had to stab General Beans in the stomach a couple times because he tried to rob me or whatever. This is when I first got my owl tattoo or whatever. I was fucking with OVO out there, and I got that owl tattoo over in Brampton. The Indian guy did it. I can't remember exactly the name. It's right by that Italian place, and he did a wonderful job on it. And I think the word got out that I had this Italian feast or whatever, and got that tag. And then that's when I was a victim of home invasion or whatever. I was on the computer. Next thing I know, door gets kicked. And the funniest thing is they start yelling like it's a home invasion and shit. And I'm like, a home invasion and shit. So I pull out my knife and shit. And I'm waiting for him to kick my door. And as soon as they kick my door, I see General and shit. He's thinking I'm filming or something. And he's got a firearm in his hand. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy even doing? And he's so out of it or whatever. He's like looking at me thinking I'm filming or whatever. I was like, dude, are you doing a real home invasion? Because I never invited you. That's when I proceeded to stab him in his stomach. And I juked him up a couple times or whatever. And I had to poke him up or whatever. And I poked him up a couple times or whatever. Then he turned his back to me and showed me his general tattoo and his big scar. And I went to give him another scar, and he was like, fuck it, and he ran off. That's when I seen another gentleman to the left of me, a young gentleman, and he was standing there smiling. So then I proceeded to defend myself, and I went to stab him, but he moved really fast or something, and I had accidentally sort of stabbed my hand a little bit myself. After that, they ran away like children, and I proceeded to make money or whatever, and everything was fine. uh, the month went on or whatever, and I cleaned up my room or whatever, and I was gonna move on, but I was like, you know what? I like this landlord. He actually shows he was actually pretty good. I was making fairly decent money. I was planning on making some good money with him. His name was Alden Herrera. Uh, what is it called? So I'm making pretty good money. At the time, I was on probation. And after that home invasion, which I think this Alden Herrera had something to do with, because it was his son that was on the left side that was with that general that I had to defend myself. I was in this Airbnb staying legally through the Airbnb app. And what is it called? I never told anybody I was at this Airbnb. So I don't know how it got out that I was staying there, maybe possibly through Ubers, but somehow somebody found out I was staying there. Maybe, oh, it quite possibly could have been. The only thing that I can think of is when I went to that Italian place and the tattoo shop that's next to it, Chrysler Drive Tattoo. When I went to 905 Inc., I signed one of those forms, those consent forms for getting a tattoo, and I believe I put the address on there, 5 Clover Bloom Road. Because when I went to go get my tattoo, um, I went to there and I signed the document stating, okay, I'm disease free. You know that tattoo form that they have you fill out? Well, I filled out that tattoo form, and I believe that's where they must have got the address. And a separate time, I was doing all right. I went over to that Italian place, and I had a meal, and it was fairly good. But then, before I left and I called my Uber to leave, I had a little spaghetti sauce on my shirt, but I was like, I had a good dinner. It was a beautiful dinner, had some Chardonnay and everything. I said, why not stop over by 905 Inc. again and see what they're up to? Because I had just gotten another tattoo there and I wanted more. I want to have quite a few tattoos. So I went over there and he seen the little spaghetti sauce stain on me, but it was just the way the spaghetti sauce stain was set into the t-shirt. It didn't look like I had the stain for too long. It looked like I had just came from a very beautiful dinner at that Italian place. I think that angered the gentleman to a certain extent. To my face, he seemed like he was normal, but guess what? That was the gentleman that I seen at the front door of 5 Clover Bloom Road. He's a fairly large gentleman from 905 Inc. In Brampton. He's got finger tattoos. He sits right here at the front here. And that's how I identified that man being the perpetrator, one of the perpetrators in that home invasion of Alden Herrera's at 5 Clover Bloom Road. And I believe they kicked the door or whatever and had broken the door. This man right here. I believe that's the man there. I was able to identify him through those finger tattoos. When I seen him at the door, I said, oh, this guy from the front, the secretary tattoo guy. Boom! That immediately gave me not the ambition, but the strength and courage to fight off the perpetrators, and they were fought off empty-handed, other than blade in their stomach or whatever. Now, at the time, I'm still probation with a woman named Judith Esposito, and I'm going through quite a few things with her as well. And I was more than nice to Judith. I would make every single meeting on time uh, uh, at the Brampton probation office, Brampton probation and parole. It was my number one prerogative to abide by my conditions. I only had 18 months or whatever. I was almost done my probation, but I went through the entire length of the probation with Judith Esposito until that last month where all this stuff happened. What is it called? One of my probation orders had expired, and I was still just on the last month of the other one. Me and Judith had gotten along very well before then, so I thought. That's when Judith knew that I was in the shelter, but I guess Judith didn't know my prior history in regards to trabajo or working, and she thought I was just one of these people that they could bury. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and I was, we'll not get to that point now, but at that time, I was just going to probation with her. And I was even early for probation, and this is when I was being sexually assaulted and violated within the offices there at Brampton Probation and Parole. Judith, out of nowhere, one started insinuating sexual acts on me. I'm there just to check in for my small probation. It wasn't anything very serious, and especially when it came to the finalization of my case. And that is when she started to act erratically. In the beginning, it was she pulled down her pants and exposed her genitals to me that were covered in feces. And then she pulled her firearm then on me and aimed it at me, which I didn't mind, and I couldn't believe it was real. And she allowed me to then leave. And there were some other things where she had started to show her breasts to me and things which I didn't really, at the time I was so innocently minded, I didn't even understand the gestures. Then I was just making sure that I was paying I had owed around $800 in restitution. I believe I was at $750 or somewhere, only a small percentage off of my restitution. And that was her job, was to take my receipt, make sure that I was abiding by my conditions when it came to certain things. Like at the time, I had a weapon condition, but that was relieved when that probation order expired. But then, what is it called? Oh, it's been since relieved, sorry. But I had a fraud under, and the only condition of that fraud under was that I once a month, where it was to be present at the probation office. And I was working very, very hard. I had a job prior to this charge that had happened that has no relation. And everything was good, like I said. My auntie Carolyn was having a lot of health problems. And even I think in between, when I was actually seeing Judith in the beginning, I had to serve a 6-month sentence for a charge that I had dealt with. And then I got out of jail, and then I started seeing Judith again. And Judith knew that I was a very ambitious young man. She could tell in my demeanor and that the outfits that I wore very nice outfits, leather shoes, and I wore collared shirts and what is it called? And uh, and golf shirts and khakis and dress pants and all that. That's when my entertainment started to take off with Drake and that whole clique or whatever. So I bought some different clothes or whatever, and I wanted to do that entertainment while I was there. I planned on leaving anyway because I'm not from Toronto. I was just touring. Um, I was almost dressed like Martin Shkreli or whatever, just sort of like this, but you can go look it up. I have some on my Instagram. I have some dress outfit, what I looked like. Anyways, to a certain extent, you can't replicate also what I looked like at the time because there were certain times that I didn't have any video or pictures. Like in this probation office, one of the rules is that you cannot bring your telephone or any weapons or anything of that nature in there. So I would always lock up my phone, lock up any of my electronics, and also my jacket or whatever. She would always have me take off my jacket. So I was completely unarmed and just completely innocent when I went to Judith. and she would take advantage. She ended up starting to take advantage of that with a gentleman named Femi. And I didn't mind in the beginning because I'm open to a lot of things. And there were a couple sexual deviance things that I had witnessed or whatever. Like I came 30 minutes early to the probation for the meeting, and I could hear Judith screaming sexual things in the lobby of the thing with Femi, like Femi, fuck me, and all that when I came 30 minutes early because I just wanted to make sure my probation was straight. I was about to be terminated from probation. It was like, sayonara, thank you for your service. And that is when the rape and everything really took off. Same with the attempted murdering things. I started doing decent for myself. I got onto the Ontario Works program, and I was making Ontario Works money, as well as a highly classified operation that's been ran or whatever was also generating income for myself. And I was not on any. It's a free market economy. If I own a business, and especially where the business was located, uh, what is it called? Within the certain jurisdictions and things that, especially with the laws or whatever in regarding to drugs, my business was a completely legal business that worked with the for-profit prison system. But I did get on that Ontario Works because my law enforcement business had its ups and downs, so I needed to apply for Ontario Works. I started to buy my basic. I started to purchase things that I needed, basically like I needed hair gel, hair ties at the time, and some other very basic needs, which have been since stolen by Judith in an attempted murder. So I used to go to the probation and let Judith know about where I was staying. I had to, that was one of my conditions. I had to update Judith on where I was staying. So I stayed a couple different Airbnbs or whatever, and I finally started making my place with a gentleman named Alden Herrera. We got along. I am of a Spanish nomenclature to a certain degree. So I started doing well with Herrera and I liked him. And he runs this Food Safety First Incorporated. And I understand now, but at the time I did need him and he needed me, sort of thing. So he was renting out his room and I stayed there for 1 month. And there was a discrepancy with marijuana. He doesn't like it at all and all that. But at the same time, we got along and everything was going well. And my business was going well, and so was his to a certain degree. And there was an Asian girl that stayed at his Airbnb, and she had a boyfriend. And one time I went downstairs and I had something to eat, like a Michelini's frozen dinner. And that's when we had sex or whatever. It was, I think I was drugged or something. I don't know what happened, but something happened. But during my stay or whatever, there were a few times Aladdin had a few sexual things happen, and I see he's on Instagram. And I was new to the whole sexual thing, seeing that or whatever with my bare eyes or whatever, and that wasn't really a problem. I seen him as a good guy. So I told Judith about Aladdin. I was like, my landlord is a fairly decent man, and you should go meet him. Now, I don't know if they knew each other already or whatever, but Judith was very interested, and I told him that I'm staying at his house currently or whatever, and paying rent or whatever through that Airbnb, but he's a fairly nice guy because this happened when I updated her. She wanted to know where I was living, so I told her I'm staying at 5 Clover Bloom Road, and that was the update with her. And then I told her more about the landlord, or the host. They call them the host with Airbnb. It's not the landlord because Airbnb is more, I could stay there for 5 days, 1 day, a month. But I was planning on long term, sort of, at the time, maybe a couple months at Alden's house. So, but I put in a good word to Judith about Alden. That's when Judith or whatever, she tried assassinating me a couple times at her office, but I got away or whatever. And she was very jealous that my probation was ending, and she supposedly had received a hit money from the Thompson family, Philip Thompson of Teeswater. And she basically tried to shoot me then in the office. Oh no, she tried to trach me in the office with a tracheotomy device and had said, do you know who you went against or something of that nature? And then she tried to assassinate me illegally in the probation office, even though I was already under conditions. Anyways, I thought it was fake or whatever, and I continued to go back month after month. Anyway, this month or whatever, which I think was like either the 16th or 17th month of my probation, we're just on that last month of termination. She comes over to the Airbnb and comes in and began having sex with Alden while I was up in my Airbnb room. Next thing I know, they're having sex in the next room over beside me, which I'm like, okay, whatever, it's Judith. I've known her for quite a while now. I'm in this room here. You can see a window right here. This is a room here because originally I was in the room over in the other side for a month, and it got quite dirty, but I cleaned it up with a lot of wipes and things. And that's one other thing that was stolen from me, wipes, as well as clothes. While I was at Mr. Herrera's, I bought some clothes and whatever, and some fairly decent ones from this place over on Steeles Avenue, Brampton, hip hop clothes or something. The next level. I went to the next level and I bought about $400 worth of clothes. I saved every dollar I had on Ontario Works and my job, and I bought some new clothes for my gig with Drake and some other people in Toronto. Anyways, that's some other things she had stolen. They're having sex in this room here. I'm in the bed here. And I'm like, okay, Judith and them, they're going to probably finish off maturely. And everything's going to be fine. Maybe I'll see Judith in the kitchen or something like that. Next thing I know, Judith took a large defecation in the toilet of Mr. Herrera. And she said, she was yelling out loud, like, I'm shitting in the toilet of Mr. Herrera, one of those orgasmic shits. And I was like, sort of giggling, like, yes, you are. Because I take a shit in Mr. Herrera's toilet all the time because I'm a paying customer. And then she was very proud to poop into Mr. Herrera's toilet. That's when she came back and said, it's a muerto. Now, I don't know if she knew that I comprende Espanol, but that is when I said, it's a muerto. And I didn't say it's a muerto. I was thinking in my brain, uh-oh, she is very serious with the word muerto, and I stood up. This was through the wall. Next thing I know, exactly where my head was, here come some bullets. She tried to assassinate me laying down, which was an attempted murder, because I was only on conditions of small probation. She tried to assassinate me where I was a paying customer of Airbnb at the bed, and I stood up inside the room, and there's bullets coming through the wall there. And through their delusions, they missed me. And I got up, and I just, next thing I know, there was some more bullets that came through about a couple feet away from me, and they completely missed. And I just walked out the door, whatever, calm as heck. And I was like, uh-oh. And I sort of started to jog towards or swiftly walk towards the stairs. That's when Judith came out and immediately tried to lay me to rest and put me down on those stairs. which was an attempted murder, attempt of homicide unjustifiably. It wasn't in any defense of any property. Actually, she was the one that damaged the property. She then damaged the walls and whatnot or whatever in this room as well as that room. Completely somehow, thankfully to Jehovah himself, missed every single bullet. And I just continued to walk down the stairs. And I seen Judith. She was delusionally standing at the top of the stairs. Same with Mr. Herrera, who then aimed another firearm at me. And I said, oh, whatever. And I was scared for my life, so I went downstairs or whatever. I didn't know how many people were there, if she was going to chase me or whatever. So then I retained a safety. I went downstairs. I had to break through a door, and then I then got a knife because I thought they were going to come to this window here. My most logical idea of what they were going to do next was come to either window here and wait till I was going to walk out the front door and then shoot me in my back. So that's why I went all the way downstairs, broke through that door, grabbed a knife just in case I was in close proximity so I could defend myself. And then I just opened the lock of the door on the side. I came out here, and then I came out here and I ran to the hospital as wherever I could find a phone. And I put that knife in here because I knew I was safe or whatever, and I didn't know if I was going to need it again. So I stashed that knife into this bush here. And I ran all the way. I ran all the way down to this wellness center down here. I ran all the way to this wellness center. And that's where I contacted the Peel Regional Police, who then drove me back over here. And there was another officer that had met us over there, and they kept Judith and all of it off, and they allowed me to go get some of my things, like my laptop and things like that. That's when it started to get dark out or whatever already. And when I was in there, I didn't feel comfortable at all getting my stuff because the police officer came in here with his hand on his firearm, and he witnessed the bullets inside the wall there, which has been since, if you search up 5 Clover Bloom Road, you can see the new renovations. They've covered it up. That's when he witnessed the Winchester brand case, or not the casing, sorry, but the bullets and everything. And there were some casings or whatever that I witnessed him view. And he said, go up there and grab your stuff. But Judith was still up there. So they obviously had something planned because she was probation. But under law, the whole thing was illegal and was attempted murder because I was a legal tenant of that residence. And she just came in and shot at me for no reason of any legal matter. So I went upstairs and I went to get my laptop and a couple other things, and I put it in my backpack. And there was some I had bought a $100 roller suitcase, which was a basic need as well. I needed a suitcase to be able to carry around my clothes. I was planning on becoming a decent human being. So I had bought some clothes or whatever, but I didn't feel comfortable going for my clothes or whatever. I was like, screw it. I got my laptop and I just left. That's when there was some yelling and screaming. These ones, I have never seen something so erratic in my whole life. These ones are very erratic, these Hispanios. Same with the black people that were living there. A lot of parties. That's when I came over and I was like, okay, whatever, I'm leaving. And it's starting to get dark, so I was getting queasy in my stomach. The other tenant had his backpack on, who's probably tried to act cool ever since because they think they've gotten away with it, has started walking this way. And I was thinking, should I follow him? Because he knew something bad was going on. And he started walking that way. I was like, you know what? I'm going to the hospital. So I proceeded this way to the hospital or whatever. And that's when I was in the street around about here. And this is when there was another setup with that Femi. Oh, wrong way. That same Femi probation officer from Brampton Probation and Parole. Now, what they're trying to argue in court is that it was a legal operation, but it wasn't. How is that a legal operation? When I go towards the hospital now, and Femi was in the bushes with another black one. Actually, Femi was in a vehicle eating French fries when a black woman, the same woman that lived at 5 Clover Bloom Road, hopped out of that vehicle. And I'm trying to find the hospital here. Okay, so it's all the way down here. I somehow managed through, like, I was very hurt at this point, managed to make it all the way over here to this Peter Robertson Hospital. I can't remember the exact name. Oh, yeah, it was a lot farther than I remembered it. And this was the place I called the police at. And then I made it all the way to the hospital or whatever. And I think Femi was in one of these parking lots, and the black woman came out of the bushes and she attacked me in the middle of the street with a knife and stabbed me a couple times. And then that's when I seen Femi laughing in his car, who's supposed to be a trustable probation officer. Then well, no, actually, first I felt somebody grabbing onto my backpack, and she had opened my backpack and grabbed the computer out of my backpack, and she had this big smile on her face like she just robbed a new laptop, sorry. And I looked back at her, and she was laughing at it, and that's when she dropped that laptop and dropped it on the concrete anyways. I was like, psh, I'm going for one of those HP gaming ones. Screw it. It's not worth my life. I just turned around and left. And she tried to stab me in my neck, but I put my hand in front and she stabbed me in my hand and mutilated my hand quite well. That's when I went to the hospital or whatever, and I didn't really understand the hospital much at that time because I never had to go to the hospital, but now I do. And I should have went to emergency at the time, but I just sat there and collected my woes, and then I got on the bus and I left. And many, I don't know, maybe some people will know, but I was stranded around Brampton that night, and I was waiting, and I had to contact Airbnb to refund me for my month because it was just going on that next month. I think this happened around the end of the month, May 2019. It was May 2019. And it was it was April 2019. It was either May or April 2019, around the end of the month. And I would have the next month paid for. But Airbnb's policy is, if it, say it's the 29th of the month and the next booking is for the 1st, they had robbed me and attacked me and attempted to murder me around the 29th, I believe. So I had contacted Airbnb within that legal time frame, and I was able to get my money refunded, which I know pissed him off, which was around $600 or so, because that's how much he was charging for the month. And whatever, and it's been nothing but hardship for them ever since because they violated the law. I know they're dealing with some severe immigration repercussions because they're from Venezuela and all that. It got my case exonerated, this attempted murder that Judith did. And due to the fact of entrapment, the charges of attempted murder, mutilation, assault, robbery with a firearm, violation of oath, and countless others. Possibly even the RICO Act could be brought in on these ones. It gotten so bad that they had to bring the United States military as well as the White House had to get involved. I had to call upon the Federal Bureau of Investigation because my life was in danger in regards to this, and because of my social status. Because my father being an American home landowner, as well as to the fact that we were dual citizens, as well as my experiences and my education in regards to the American lifestyle. I went to school down in the United States and all that, so I had to get pro bonoed by United States lawyers and We had to bring some of the criminal justice system up north, and a lot was ironed out. When a long time ago, like I said in previous videos, a lot of people were misunderstanding of self-defense in Canada, which is fully legal in Canada in certain circumstances, which is a big fight. But just know, if your life is in danger, um, then you're able to defend yourself. And this is sort of what happened with me with my self-defense. That's why I had those conditions in the beginning. Was there was a gentleman, not a woman here, but there was a very large gentleman that was attacking me in a very similar fashion, hands around the neck, actually both hands around the neck, and I was starting to be suffocated to a brain death nature, an amount where it was to cause brain death. That's when I defended myself using. I did a lot of karate and self-defense lessons in Cape Coral, Florida. Cape Coral, Florida, boxing and karate. I'll maybe be able to find it here. This must be it. Nope, that's not it. It's over. We used to be over by Calusa Middle. I'm not sure if it's still there anymore, but they had taught me a lot of self-defense. Anyways, I had to use martial arts in that regard or whatever. And because he was carrying a large Magnum revolver, I had to step it up a notch. And when he kept attacking me after the choke, uh, uh, and I had to use some pepper spray to subdue him to make sure that I wasn't obliterated by the rounds of the Magnum firearm. This all happened due to legal misunderstandings, which I've made it my duty and my job to iron out here in Canada. I've called on the help of many people, the ombudsman even, and many other people in regards to these misunderstandings. And I believe that some people are suffering from mental health issues. I was just cleared uh, by the London Health Sciences Center. Like I said previously, I was on Ontario Works, but one of my goals with my caseworker, which he highly agreed on, was to fast track me to ODSP, which has been a long road ahead of me. Everybody tried to stop me out of jealousy at the time. My auntie tried to stop me. I had got my fast track papers in Brampton at the time, and she was jealous that I was getting on it. And I don't know if there's anything you can find about this, but it's called the Fast Track Program. They agreed that there were some severe disabilities that I was suffering for on the physical level, which were causing mental disabilities because I wasn't receiving that support. And it took so long to finally get in front of some qualified doctors, which I went to one of the best hospitals in all of this region, known as the London Health Sciences Center. Um, and It took years and years, but I went in there and I stayed for a couple months, and I was seen by doctors on a 24. Well, the doctors come and see you pretty much every day during the week, and then other than the weekends. But they had me under monitoring and everything like that for 24 hours with the nurses and whatnot. And I seen a lot of different nurses, went through a lot of different tests, blood tests, and MRIs, and um, different counseling, and discussions, and all that. And it was agreed upon that I needed to be put on that Ontario Disability Support Program. And I'm so thankful that I've been put on that. And ever since then, my health is starting to regenerate, and I'm starting to do well as a human. And I've secured subsidized housing with my mother, and she sort of acts as my helper and things. And I couldn't be more grateful for the Ontario Disability Support Program, and that I'm finally on it. And I've explained before that I'm related to all of Ontario. It's where I'm from. I was born in Guelph, and My family comes from Hillsburg and the surrounding area. I mean, I can see myself and people can see me and generally almost everybody in Ontario. And so they've gotten me onto that, and I believe I'll be on that for a very long time, if not forever, due to I have cancer and things. And yeah, I was cleared in the hospital, and I learned a lot of things in the hospital, and I think Canada as a whole medically learned a lot of things about my condition and my status within the Ontario Disability Support Program because it is a scaled program. And I happen to be, from my knowledge and witnessing, on the higher end of the scale, but I'm not even. I'm still at the lower end of the scale because you can have up to $45,000 worth of assets on there. I mean, within the program as a person, including like, what is it called? So it really depends. There's a lot of adjusting the program's going to be doing, especially with my joining of it, because I am one of those that am a natural born citizen of Canada, and I'm related to the majority of our service people as well as our people in the highest up of offices, and such as Justin. I'm related to Justin through heritage, and I'm also related to Doug Ford through marriage, and I'm related to that Patrick Brown through blood, through heritage, and because my grandmother is a Brown, and so I'm related to everybody. I'm even related to Mr. Ted Cruz. I'm. They say I'm actually one of the most um, mixed men that there is right now when it comes to relations. I'm related to so many different people. I have native heritage, French, Italian, Arabic, African, um, German, Dutch, Danish, every single, almost every single nationality um, I'm made up of. My French half is related to Justin, and he also has that Spanish mix with him as well. You've maybe heard with the Cuba rumors or whatever. That I guess I don't know what they're calling them, but I'm related to him as well. But I'm also Indian too. Uh, I have a little bit different color, a little bit different color. I think through the Brown family, I have a small relation to Indian people, and I'm also related to Donald Trump because we're from the Toronto area. They were from the Chicago area. It goes back to the natives, who I'm also related to, uh, who the Europeans had mixed with when we came over in 1492 and beyond, or whatever. So technically, Donald is Métis as well, and so it goes very far back. Now, I've heard some Americans think I'm going to get mad that Joe Biden's in office because I supported Donald Trump so much. But actually, I supported America in general, and any American president that would get elected thus far or whatever. Or, I mean, fuck. Any American president I would support if they were voted in. And if you look back at my history, I actually nominated Joe like long before. Uh, Around May 2020, I was like, I nominated him. I was like, he is out of all the people they were saying were running. I was like, Joe is going to probably win it against Donald, and I was right. So to say that I would be mad about Joe Biden winning would be completely infactual because I'd been completely behind Joe Biden before you even knew about anything that you think you're talking about. And but I know I'm not going to put anybody down because Joe Biden speaks up for everybody. He's everybody's president. and even Joe Biden, even I've felt the whoopings from Joe Biden and Kamala. And but it depends on what you say to your father. And I don't really know what else to say, but this was a big thing. Joe Biden, as well as his wife, the First Lady, went to England and went and seen the Queen. And that was momentous.